Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I am here with a kind-hearted gentleman named Scott, who's agreed to share some of his success and wisdom and hope and enthusiasm, and some of his stumbles and trials and tribulations too. Right, Scott?
Right.
So could you just tell us a little bit of your story and kind of give us a little bit of a backstory, what life was like and how you found us and what happened?
Sure, this is probably a little bit more unusual than most of the stories that you hear, but ever since my 20s, I'm 60 now, I was drinking pretty heavily, a six-pack a night, and then on the weekends, 3 six-packs on Saturday and Sunday, plus a bottle of liquor. And because of that, I had no willpower to not binge. So I was always eating chips and hamburgers. And in retrospect, it was a lot of food I was eating, but I really didn't think it was that much at the time. So the calories of the alcohol and the food added up. And you talk about Jack Tripney, I guess it is, but I came across this guy called Craig Beck, and he's with the StopDrinkingExpert.com. I followed his course. He had a video course. This was before I came upon your course. I got out of his course roughly last July. It was so effective that I despise alcohol now.
Wow.
And then I said, well, and he talks about this entity in your head called the evil clown. And it's really no trade secret because he has a book out called Escaping the Evil Clown and Alcohol Lied to Me. That's all on Amazon Audible. But he also has a course, and Evil Clown plays a big part of it. Make a long story short, I said, now there's got to be some way I can apply the evil clown to food, because now that I stopped drinking, I'm still having my peanut butter and crackers, which is 230 calories, Saturdays and Sundays. And I try to set my calorie goal for about 2,000, and somehow I get up to 3,200. So it wasn't bad, but I wasn't losing weight. So I was about 250 pounds at the time.
What do you weigh now?
Well, this morning I was 166. So
Got it.
I couldn't figure out how to make the evil clown apply to the food, no matter what. It just didn't seem to click. And then I came across your book last May, and I downloaded that, the Audible book. And I like to listen to books when I walk. What you were talking about, the pig and all that, I said, that's exactly the thing of the evil clown. But you were talking about the alcohol thing is purely black and white. So it's almost easier with the black and white rather than the gray area of food. Quite honestly, when you started talking about the rules, and I saw some of the reviews on Amazon about the rules, saying it's just too harsh. Of course, they never went through it. They didn't even give it a try. I said, there's no way I could cut out peanut butter and crackers or anything else. But then, as I was thinking about it over the next few days, he says, only one rule, I'll give it a try. So I said, okay, I will never have peanut butter. And I'm talking about those little crackers with the little peanut butter in it. You get 6 to a pack.
I know them well.
Yeah. So I said, I will never eat peanut butter and crackers or the cheese and crackers, Lance packages ever again while I am at the music fest, which is usually when I ate them, sitting in the chair listening to music. I will never have that again. And then a couple days later, I went through the pantry, threw out about 2 dozen of them that I had stored. I said, that's the only thing I have to throw out. I could probably get through this. I still have protein bars and potato chips if I want. And so then I started eliminating food by food by food. And then I got down to about 200. And then I couldn't quite get past the 200 mark. And that's when I decided to take the intensive in November. And then since I started taking the intensive, I started seeing the visuals of all the presentation slides. I said, yeah, this is fantastic. After 2 months, I finally got past the 200 mark. Well, like I said this morning, I was 166.
What was it that made the difference in the presentation? There was something that we said in the presentations that clicked. What was it?
As compared to just the audiobooks.
It sounds like the audiobooks got you down to 200.
Right.
And then you mentioned that you saw something in the presentation that helped you break the 200 mark.
Just the images of the pig. It's just a mirage of images right now, but mostly it's just like the pig, and the pig doesn't control us, putting the pig in the cage, and the different visual images. Plus, I always learn better in outline form. And it just so happens that the way you teach is exactly the way I learn in outline form, nice short capsule points, as compared to someone standing on stage lecturing, because I'm not really an auditory, is that how you say it, type of person that could grasp things by listening to someone on stage, but I can do it when I'm actually looking at the words while someone's talking.
Got it. That's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So it really clicked into place for you. And were there particular rules or things that you did differently, or did you just enforce it more? Something about the coaching? What happened?
I did start enforcing the rules more. I read the 3 books that you had at the time, even before I hit the course. And then I guess sometime during the course, you brought up that nighttime meeting. One of your most effective books, I thought, to me was, I think it reduced it down to 36 pig squeals. At the time of the book, I think it was 42 or more pig squeals, reducing the squeals or something like that.
Probably the workbook you saw.
It wasn't the workbook. It was an audio book that I was listening to.
Oh, I read a lot of them. I forget what's where sometimes.
Yeah. This one was specifically on the squeals, and you took each squeal and you gave the refutation for it in the book. It was a good book.
45 binge trigger busters. That's what you're
That's
talking
the
about.
one. Yeah, I love that book. I would say that's probably the best one because I identified like 10 of them while I was doing my daily walks. Listen to that.
Sounds like you lost about 35 pounds since then. What was it since November that really helped you to lose those 35 pounds?
It was the daily task that we went through, starting with the big why and the big why not and the ghost of Christmas future, and the difference between what could be and what will continue to be if you don't do it. But it's even a greater difference than most people think because you just don't stay the same. You'll get worse. It's even a greater gap.
Just so that everybody who hasn't been in the intensive follows that, our pigs tend to tell us that we could start tomorrow or next year or next decade, and that would be in about the same place. But the truth is that if you're not better, you're usually getting worse. Most people, if you ask them to project out 1 year, they can be 10 pounds heavier, sometimes 20. Whereas if they projected out a year following even one simple rule, we start people by making one simple rule like peanut butter crackers. We have them project out for a year and they could see that they're going to be a good deal thinner. It's not just about the weight, there's so much else that happens. But you compare and contrast those two futures and you realize that it's not just about comparing now to what could be if you were to get things together, but it's about comparing the future if you let things keep sliding to what could be if you get things together. And that amplifies your motivation because it's something the pig doesn't want you to see most of the time. Right, Scott?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Had you had any hesitation to sign up for the intensive?
No, not really. Because after I read the books, I said, if the $500 that I spend with Glenn is anything like the $600 I spent with Craig Beck on Stop Drinking Expert, it'll be well worth the money if I could quit the food addiction as well. It was so effective that I wanted to teach this stuff. And I'm actually a magician as an entertainer, not my main job, because that doesn't pay the bills. But at night, I entertain and at parties. So I was thinking that I could mix the magic and bring it away. And I said, well, now I could tell someone a card that they're thinking of, like the 3 of diamonds, but who really cares? But if I could tell what food that they're thinking of that they're going to cave into, and they don't even tell me what it is, I say, okay, I want you to think of a food that you want to make a rule about. And then after they tell me the rule, I say, oh, so you must be thinking of cookies. Something like that. So I figured I could mix the entertainment and the food into the coaching thing. And that's one of the reasons I took the coaching course, because now my magic had a meaning. So I could go out there and entertain. And with the magic, I could do it specifically on how to get them using some very simple rules.
Scott, that's fabulous. That's so
Yeah.
fabulous. Is it working?
Well, Hard to tell because I just got my
You just got
certification
certified?
last
Okay.
week.
Okay.
I actually did spend the last week putting a web page together with the Wix creator and putting together some magic routines.
I definitely want to see those presentations. That'll be great.
I got to get it together and polish it up, but I'll show you sometime in the future.
Okay, when you're ready. So Scott, what's it like? If you go back a year or so ago, you were about 84 pounds heavier and you were drinking all the time. And it's like you've lost a child, right? You're not carrying that child around anymore and
Right.
you're not drinking. Tell me what it's like. What's it like to be this new person?
I almost forget that I'm even thin now until people bring it up. They bring it up every day. But to everybody else, it's still a novelty. But at one point in one of your lectures, you said that it takes about 6 months for the image to catch up with the body type, your slim body. Sometimes I got my size 32 pants now when I get ready for work. And I look at my 32 pants, and it doesn't come out very much as I'm about to slip my legs in. And I say, there's absolutely no way. I look at the pants in horror. What was I thinking getting these 32s? And yet I slip into them comfortably. I said, well, here it goes. Be prepared to take my stomach in, but I just slip in them comfortably. So all these things that I couldn't do before, I can now do. Plus, I'm pursuing my goals a lot more, whereas I used to just sleep away the late Saturday afternoon and late Sunday afternoon. Not now. Instead, I'm at the computer working on the website and doing outside chores, getting things done that should be done that I've neglected in the past.
What an honor. Wow, what a transformation. What was it like getting the email coaching? Did you take advantage of that or it just kind of clicked for you by studying?
I did. I worked with Coach Harry Robinson, and I think he said I was one of the few that actually responded on a regular basis, and I still do it. Now I'm on a weekly basis, and sometimes I'm a day late just because I'm so busy and have so much going on, but I did it on a daily basis, just like the intensive, and he always gave me great feedback. He never told me what to do, but he says I might want to look at such and such from a different angle. I would say to myself, well, that's just common sense. And then a little bit later, I start thinking, well, but it's common sense, but it's something I probably wouldn't have thought of until he brought it up.
Harry is terrific. I love Harry.
Yeah, like just the other day, I was at like 170 for about a couple of weeks. That's because I was using my written rule more as a guideline. I had a 1,750 calorie limit. I had that rule written down, but I would fudge it, go over to 1,900, 1,950, 2,000. And so it's only a couple hundred calories, and the weight charts, the calculators say I would have to eat 2,400 calories to maintain the weight. So I'm still doing good, but I didn't lose any. So then I emailed Harry a couple of days ago on my weekly thing and said, well, looks like I have to go back to the written rule and keep to it strict. And he says, well, a rule is a rule when it's written down. There's no fudging around it. So I said, okay, Harry, you're right, to myself. So yeah, he gave great feedback.
Good. Is there a difference in how much money you're spending on food and alcohol now?
Well, alcohol is zero, where it was about $500 a month. So I probably saved about $2,500 on alcohol. Food, yeah, I probably do save a lot on food too. I do buy fairly pricey protein bars.
You put the money into healthier things.
Yeah, I don't buy any junk food whatsoever. Some will argue about the protein bars that I get, like Protein Plus, but it has virtually no sugar in it, all fiber. And I realize it's probably man-made chemicals that a lot of vegans would disagree with. But at least I'm using it for the protein and fiber and the calories. So that's my crutch right now. I'm not ready to go all vegan or anything like that. In fact, I put a lot of meat in my salads.
It's okay. If you've dramatically improved your life, so much healthier. I don't need everybody to eat the way that I do. I don't.
Oh, okay. All righty.
I work with a lot of carnivores and eat nothing but meat and salad. And
Well, I was just saying that what I do out there is not necessarily you, but a lot of people would probably say it's not really good for you. But I still do things that I think are good for me. And it's really helped. At least I stay away from what I'm considering junk food is what I was really trying to get at.
yeah, look, first of all, I'm not perfect myself. I don't only eat things that are healthy for me. And there are things on my food plan that other people would disapprove of. But even worse so, I do eat a lot cleaner than most people, but it was a journey for me. I got here, like I said, first started experimenting, 13 to 15 years ago. I was still reading, experimenting, and figuring out what it was I wanted to eat, not how to stick to it, but what I really wanted to eat. And it was a journey. And if you are constantly absorbing information and aligning your behavior with your best knowledge about what's good for you, what you really believe, with all the experts you've consulted with and the books that you've read, I don't know how we can expect people to do much better than that. And compared to the way that you and I were eating before that, right? Not just the peanut butter crackers, but the people at the drive-thrus, they knew me and they would tell me about specials that were coming up. And it was very, very embarrassing. I'll just leave it at that.
Even though I knew my wife had dinner waiting for me, I would think nothing of stopping at Taco Bell just for a little snack on the way home.
Yeah.
Or a burger or something like that. So I don't do that anymore. I might go to Taco Bell on a very rare basis, but then I would get just like a soft taco with only the tortilla and the meat, but not the fattening ones. But I don't even do that anymore hardly because I prepare all my meals in the morning. And then when I get home, I had so many vegetables that I just want a plain, simple sandwich at night. And usually don't know how it's pronounced, but I think it's like BAI, flavored water. They have a pina colada. So I have a sandwich and a couple of those at 10 calories a bottle. And I'm good for the evening because I had so much of the good food during the day.
You follow your rules. You evaluate your rules using your best thinking and what the doctors and nutritionists tell you and the books that you've read. And you follow your rules. That's how you live a longer and healthier life. That's my opinion. When I know for certain, and this is my job in the world, that's how you stop binging. When you move your important food decisions from your impulses and emotions to your intellect, you stop binging. That's what I've discovered. And that's my job in the world, and that's what you're doing. That's where you can develop the confidence that you become the kind of person who doesn't binge and just defines the bullseye that they want to go after and goes after it.
Right. Now that you brought it up, another big thing that hit me, well, your very core principle is that you set your own food rule and you don't have to listen to anybody else. So if you think ice cream each night is healthy or whatever, which I don't particularly like ice cream, just off the top of my head, then you go ahead and eat it. Now, do you have any rules concerning the ice cream? And then you just bring it down to the bare basics of when you can't eat it, when you can. That made a lot of sense to me.
Doug Graham told me that you can eat whatever you want to as long as you're willing to deal with the consequences. If you're defining those rules and you're evaluating the consequences and you're willing to live with them, then who am I to tell you to do it differently, right?
Right. Also, the thing is, before I read about your system and went through the intensive, I was thinking, I know I shouldn't be eating something. And it was kind of like more of a guideline than a rule. But at that time, I didn't know the difference. I didn't even know there was a distinction. But then you don't even know what part of your body is telling you that you shouldn't be eating it. You know why you feel guilty. You just don't know where the guilt's coming from. But when you could lay it, as you say, squarely on the pig, and any negative comments you hear is from the pig, then that creates the great divide between my positive feelings and my negative feelings. So that really helped a lot too. Whenever I started feeling guilty or whatever, I just, listen, pig, I've had enough of you. Go back to your cage. That's negative feelings, and I just want positive feelings. And that really helps. And then that also takes away the desire to go ahead and binge or have something you shouldn't have, because now you're not driven by shame and guilt. Why eat something to take care of your shame and guilt? If you don't have any more shame and guilt, you may as well just eat something healthy and feel good, even better about yourself.
Very good. What else should I have asked you that I didn't ask you that you want to share with the audience and make sure they know, like as a guy who spent a lifetime drinking and binging on food, who's kind of escaped that prison, what else do you want people to know? There are a lot of people out there who believe that they can't do it, like they're doomed, like they're powerless over this irresistible desire to overeat. There's no way out.
Right. I think I pretty much said everything that I have on my mind, but I would say probably the biggest thing is just to set that one small rule for yourself, get confidence in yourself. And once you do that, just like when I go to the gym, and by the way, I've gone to the gym almost every single day for the last several years, and I was building muscle and I had the tight abs, but you really couldn't see it because I was 250 pounds. Back in 2015, I was actually 285 pounds for a couple of years. I was like 250 pounds for several years. I had the muscle. I knew I had it under there, but you couldn't tell. But I always went to the gym. And the point is that at least with the gym, I would say, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm just going to go through the motions. If I have to, I'm just going to do 10-pound curls and I'll just do that for 15 minutes. And then I'll go home and I'll say, well, at least I was there. And of course, when I'm there, then I start working harder and harder. The same thing with the food rules. You say to yourself, well, I'll just try this one little thing. At least I'm giving it a try. Before you know it, you're incorporating more and more food rules. So I'd say that's number one. And then the other thing is doing the big why, which you had to write down in one of your tasks. It was either week 1 or week 2. And then I actually recorded it to an MP3 and I listened to it every single day. And now I don't even listen to it because I'm so busy, but I have it memorized word for word. So when I'm riding to the gym or when I'm riding to work, I repeat it at least once or twice a day in my mind from beginning to end. And I've lived a little bit to enhance or whatever. I think the big why is the most important thing. And then probably the one rule is neck and neck for those two. I don't think you can do one without the other.
Very good. It becomes a part of you, almost like a prayer.
Right.
Is there anything I can help you with or anything you want to ask me?
No, I pretty much have everything in control. There's not a single thing I could think of at this point I need help on as far as food rules go, because I actually go through your presentations because you let us download them, which is great. And I actually look at them on my tablet when I'm on the cardio machines at the gym. And I've actually gone over them several times. So I have almost everything memorized in both the coaching and the intensive. Anytime I have a question, all of a sudden my mind is like flipping through the slides in my mind. I say, oh yeah, okay. So this is how I take care of it.
Fabulous. Fabulous. I really appreciate your time, Scott. It's been delightful and you're quite a success story. You're going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been thin now for quite a while. And the thinnest I ever got was about 188 pounds and maybe a couple times 178. But I've never stayed that way for more than 2 weeks. So now it's been several months. This is long lasting, I can tell.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Just keep going, okay?
All right. Thanks a lot for all your encouragement and help.
Be well.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.